Perry, really nice to see you. Thank you very much, Counselor, for joining me today.
Good to see you.
We talked a little bit about the questions beforehand, and hello, it's Frankie Bellucci, Kansas City Remax Premier. I'm meeting with Perry Brandt, and it's really a special opportunity for me to be able to share what I'm doing with you and to have this conversation with Perry and bring it to you. Perry and I have been friends a long time, and it's a little different than business owners that I've been interviewing, but Perry's a well-known and well-respected attorney, and he's a Kansas City guy, and in a conversation about real estate and interviews, it was a perfect fit. So as we talked about, the questions probably vary a little bit, so this is kind of new territory for me to try something different, but I bet you can handle it.
It'll be fine.
All right. So when did you get your law degree? Where did you go to school? You went to Vanderbilt, right?
I went to Vanderbilt for undergrad and graduated in 1974, and then I went on to Vanderbilt Law School, where I graduated in 1977. And the way kind of hiring works when you're in law school is your big opportunity is during your second year to interview for a summer clerkship. And so I actually interviewed for a summer clerkship here in Kansas City and was here for the summer of 1976. And then when I went back to law school, I had a job offer here. And so I came here permanently in 1977. So I've been here 46 and a half years.
46 and a half years. Now, I met you at Bryan Cave, which used to be Smithgill Fisher & Butts. Did you work for Smithgill?
I did not. The Bryan Cave had merged with Smithgill a couple of years before I joined.
Okay. What sort of law do you practice?
By way of shorthand, I'm a courtroom lawyer. I do 100% litigation. I call myself a trial lawyer because I go to trial. A lot of cases don't go to trial, but a lot of cases do go to trial. But I handle commercial litigation as opposed to personal injury or anything like that. But within the rubric of commercial litigation, pretty much anything.
Your profile online says that you're, I want to say, a business lawyer.
Yeah, business litigation.
So business litigation, and that applies to corporates or small business. Could I call you if I had a legal problem I have anyway?
No, absolutely. I mean, I represent big companies all the way down to small companies and individuals.
Great. And how do you... Tell us how it fits with Kansas City, and tell us about, I guess I want to know more about how your work impacts Kansas City, the infrastructure and the financial vibration of the city, and how we grow and how we move through our day-to-day, that things that we don't see that you do.
Well, the first thing I'll say, excellent question. The first thing I'll say is that there is a very, very, very solid legal community in Kansas City. For a city our size, I'll match us up against any other city in the U.S. or maybe even the world in terms of the quality of the lawyers and the quality of the law firms and the quality of the judges. The standard of law practice here is really, really good. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed that. And at the same time, there's a great emphasis on civility here. And so in some parts of the country, you get people who are kind of hard-nosed litigators or whatever, are difficult to deal with. And people here in Kansas City get along quite well. Now, to answer your question, lawyers are involved in pretty much every aspect of the progress of the city. For example, anytime you look at some new building that's going in or some new development that's going in, there are lawyers involved in that. When you look at a company moving to town or whatever, there are going to be lawyers involved in that. And so lawyers are very often behind the scenes, propelling the city forward and the businesses of the city forward in ways that you don't necessarily see. And then also lawyers are intimately involved in sort of what I'm going to call the soft way of promoting the city. For example, I spent several years on the board of directors and on the executive committee of the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. And so I wasn't practicing law, but I was very involved in strategic planning for what the Chamber of Commerce did in terms of advancing the city forward. And for example, worked on the early work on the new airport and things like that.
Same with the streetcar.
Same, exactly. All that was going on at the same time. Exactly. So again, that wasn't practicing law. That was more of a volunteer position, but I was intimately involved in those things.
And I wouldn't call this Brookside. This is kind of North Brookside. What do you call the neighborhood?
I call this Plaza Brookside.
Plaza Brookside. You've lived here as long as I've known you. How do you like the neighborhood here? And do you foresee a move? Like, are you and Liz going to move someday, or is this your forever house?
We've been in this house for 32 years. Interestingly, the other night,
45 and a half. That's a long.
Yeah,
that's a chunk.
The other night we had some people over to the house visit who had lived in the house back in the 1980s.
This house.
In this house,
That's
and
exciting.
so it was kind of fun having them over here. We love this neighborhood. We'll be in this house, as far as I can tell, for as long as possible. I love this neighborhood. It's a very vibrant neighborhood. There's a lot of great people who live here. Interestingly, we are now the second longest people on our block to have lived here. So we've watched it turn over, we watched the neighborhood turn over, but there's been a lot of nice young families who have moved in to the area, and it's fun watching the area continue to grow.
And the reason I bring it up is because this video series is about how we all get along with business owners and neighbors and neighborhoods and how it all works together. And if you're thinking about buying a home in Kansas City or becoming a resident in Kansas City, this is exactly why. We have long-standing friendships and relationships and folks that have been in houses a long time. And we are a really strong community. I think so. When I met you and Liz, I came to do work for you. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't long before we were friends and having dinner or, hey, Perry, what's this? I have a question. Or, and to be able to build that relationship with people, it says a lot about our community.
And I'll echo that. I think Kansas City, I mentioned this earlier, talking about the legal community, that it's a very strong and civil legal community. I think that's true of Kansas City in general. I think there's a real sense of community here, which is interesting because unlike a lot of cities, we straddle 2 states, 5 counties, a couple of rivers. And you would think we would be maybe more isolated, and in fact we're not. I get a real sense of community amongst everybody in the metropolitan area.
Would you say that we're a little big city?
Yes, I would. And it's kind of nice because in business I travel a lot, so to the extent that I feel the need to be in a New York or Chicago or whatever, I end up going there on business. I enjoy my time there. It's great to come back to Kansas City. And it has all the amenities that I want in a city, but with infinitely less hassle.
I love traveling to New York. I try and spend a couple weeks a year in New York, and I always love coming home. And the great thing about Kansas City, if you don't know this about Kansas City, we're right in the middle. We've got a great new airport, and I say right in the middle of the country, and we've got this great new airport. I could pretty much fly anywhere. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can fly anywhere in the country in 3 hours or less.
That's true.
That's right. So that's pretty sweet. Do you know of, can you think of any newsworthy or buzzworthy changes coming to Kansas City that may not be widely discussed currently?
Well, I think Kansas City's on a roll right now.
Yeah, growing.
And in terms of things that aren't widely known, I don't know about that. But if you think about what's happened in Kansas City in the last 20 years, it's nothing short of amazing. When I first came to Kansas City, downtown was kind of a dead zone, and the streets rolled up at 5 p.m. and there was never anybody down there on the weekends. There was nothing down there.
Nothing.
And now downtown is very vibrant.
West Bottoms?
The West Bottoms is vibrant. All that's great. We've got obviously the T-Mobile Center. The Power and Light District has been great. Crossroads has come an infinite way. That's now a destination. But then you look at some of the other things, a brand new airport, the new streetcar, Super Bowl champions, I'll throw that one out there, the NFL draft being here, the World Cup coming. These are huge things that candidly, what I would call our peer cities, aren't having. They're not having the same growth. And then at the same time, we are not facing a lot of the problems some of our peer cities are. For example, I won't mention the name, but one of the cities that I visit very frequently has grown rapidly, but now the infrastructure has not kept up. And they have terrible traffic, and they're having a crime problem now. And if you look at Kansas City, we don't have many problems, and the infrastructure has kept up with the growth. And we, again, have a nice sense of community, and things like crime and problems like that are kept to a minimum. And so I think we've had nice, balanced growth at the same time that we're on a roll.
You kind of mentioned crime. Are you a police officer too?
No, but my wife and I last fall went through the Citizens Police Academy and found that to be very interesting. And we learned a lot about what the local police do and really every aspect. And it was all very interesting. And we really, really enjoyed the course and enjoyed all the police officers we met.
Boots on the ground's a lot different, isn't it?
It's a lot different. We did Friday night ride-alongs, and that was interesting to say the least. But you get an up-close and personal view as to the challenges that are faced.
I've done one as well. We've talked about that, and a ride-along is, if you haven't ever done a police ride-along, we get our news from news sources, and it may or may not be accurate. But once you get out on a ride-along or get boots on the ground, you really see close up what's happening in your city, in our city. I don't know, Perry, what else should we talk about? I want to be able to make sure that I cover everything Kansas City with you. What are your plans? You've just taken a new position as a new attorney at a new firm. What do you see coming for yourself, for the community, for the city?
Well, for myself, I see myself continuing to practice law. I'm segueing a little bit into doing more arbitrations and mediations, but I'm still doing trials. I did a big trial in April and May.
Can you tell us
fairly
anything about
recently.
that?
Oh, it was just a big trial. So I'm still doing that. And I'll continue to work. And I continue to think that Kansas City is going to be on a roll. Good things are happening. I think the leadership of the city is great. I'm friends with our mayor. I think he's doing a wonderful job. And I just think Kansas City is a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. Our daughter had a very nice childhood here now, and she now is in St. Louis, and she likes Kansas City better. And all things considered, I think Kansas City is a gem that I think people who come here love it.
Okay. How can citizens, how can neighbors, how can communities give to our city? How can we give back?
Well, I think a very important thing to do would be for everyone, and I've done plenty of this in my time, would be to give back by getting involved in a civic or charitable organization. and one that fuels a passion that everybody has individually. So, for example, as you can probably tell, I love animals. I was board chair at Wayside Waste for several years, which is a rescue animal shelter. But find something that's civic and charitable to do. It's the right thing to do. And it obviously helps the community, but also I find it to be very rewarding because you meet people you otherwise wouldn't meet and see situations you wouldn't otherwise see. And so that would be maybe the one thing I would say is I would encourage everyone to get involved in some type of civic or charitable organization, but not just to put it on your resume, but to find something that fuels a passion that you have inside and that you can dedicate yourself to.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Do you have a place that you like to go and chill out? I like to call it Zen. Where do you like to go to get some peace and quiet?
Well, I'm kind of the opposite of that. When I go to get away, I go to someplace exciting. And that's how I get away. So when I'm on a vacation or something like that, I want to go someplace where A, I'm remote, and B, I'm active, and C, I'm learning. So for example, in March, I went by myself for 2.5 weeks to Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand. And I saw all there was to see in those 4 countries, but it was a real chance to get away. It was not Zen. I was on the go kind of 24/7, but that's how I get away, is to be active.
All right. And what about local places to eat? You got any favorite places that you want to tell us that you like to go out and eat?
Well, Liz and I belong to the Carriage Club, so we spend a lot of time there. There are a lot of great restaurants around here. We spend a fair amount of time at Aixois, the French bistro that's here in the Plaza Brookside neighborhood. Spend a fair amount of time there. Like to go to the tavern in Prairie Village, and just Tailleur on Main Street, and Farina down in the Crossroads. And I'd say those are at the top of the list.
Favorites. All local, very good restaurants. Do you caffeinate?
Oh yeah.
Where do you like to caffeinate?
Well, here I have to have coffee as soon as I get up, and then I'll either Starbucks or Messenger.
Okay, Messenger. It's a bakery. They've got the Ibis Bakery.
Yes.
Yeah. Any quirky traditions you've stumbled upon in Kansas City that you find interesting?
Well, yeah, so there's one thing that I have to do every year, and in fact, I'm going to do it here in the next few weeks. We go to the Renaissance Festival every year,
yeah.
And I just absolutely love the Renaissance Festival, and, you know, it's the same every year, and I still love it every year, so we'll
Different
be doing
faces, doing the same things
right
over and over again.
But I just love it.
Jousts and turkey legs and...
Right, but I just love it. So that's one of the quirky things that you might think is kind of unusual, but we do that every year. And that's probably about the main thing that's quirky. Other than that, pretty mainstream, Chiefs, Royals, that type of thing.
Sure. Anything else that you would tell the world in an interview such as this?
No, just support Kansas City. I think people need to appreciate what a special city we live in. And what makes the city special are the people. These are just wonderful people who live in Kansas City, and there really is a sense of community here. Yeah. And everybody, it's a little big city or a big little city, but everybody knows everybody. Everybody's friendly. Everybody treats each other well and with respect, and it's a real gem.
Okay. Well, as we wrap up another fantastic conversation, thank you for that. I'm Frankie Bellucci. I'm with RE/MAX Premier in Prairie Village. And if you know anybody that wants to buy or sell any real estate, commercial, residential, industrial, it doesn't matter. Investment, we like referrals. Please let us know. And we do this, I do this as often as I can to connect with the community so that you can see this is where you want to be, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be part of it. Perry Brandt,
Thank you.
thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
You bet.
That's it. Ciao.
Ciao, Bella.